Here with us now, Columbia alum and Jewish activist Rudy Rochman to talk more about what we're seeing. Thank you. First of all, moving classes online, what message does that send, and was that the right move by Columbia?
I mean, it sends a message that they accept the current political climate, that Jews should be afraid of being on campus, of being loud, of being proud, of being who they are. And, you mentioned that these movements are pro-Palestinian, and in my opinion, they're not. I'm very much so pro-Palestinian, but this movement seeks to use only selected instances of Palestinian suffering, manipulating those instances in order to convince the general public that they should be against Israel. Because when Palestinians are dying by the thousands in the Syrian civil war, when they're by the hundreds of thousands at refugee camps in Lebanon and Jordan, when they're suffering under Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, or on the border of Gaza and Egypt, they never talk about those Palestinian sufferings. So what we currently see right now is an attempt to engage with the future political and intellectual class. That's why universities are so important, because they represent the future of society, and convincing them that the source of all suffering in the world is the Jewish people in Israel. And what started with words is now turning into actions, and we know already where this leads.
First of all, what measures should be put into place at Columbia and other schools, in your opinion, to keep students of Jewish faith and others trying to attend class safe?
Well, I kind of look at it as it's the responsibility of the Jewish community to make the change. And it's not going to come from the top down, but from the bottom up. It's nice to have politicians or the administration create policies, but eventually the politicians and the administration will cater to the majority. And if the majority of the population thinks that the world should be against Israel or against the Jewish people, that's what these institutions will follow. We look at that with before the civil rights movement, the majority of institutions and politicians were against Black rights because that was the norm. Eventually, culture shifted, people were educated, and especially from the younger generations, were able to shift the mindset of the generation, which led to politicians shifting their positions, institutions shifting their positions, and being against racism and being against anyone that was trying to push for something where Black people wouldn't get equal rights. So what we see from movements like this is that institutions will only cater to the majority. So my message is less so what should the government do, what should the institutions do, but what should the Jewish community and their allies do, which means we need to earn our rights. All communities, women, LGBTQ+, Black, all fought and earned their rights. And it's time for the Jewish people to fight and earn their rights, and to shift pop culture and to have people recognize what is anti-Semitism and why it's a problem.
And instead of running away from the issue, the ground-up approach is interesting. Might the graduation ceremonies be an opportunity to send a strong message? What are your hopes there?
Yeah, I think each opportunity, especially a graduation, could be an opportunity to send a message, but I don't think it's something that can happen within one day or one event. In 2015, when I was looking to apply to different university campuses, I was fed up with the amount of anti-Semitism I was seeing on college campuses. So I typed in on Google, #1 most anti-Semitic university, and Columbia was listed #1, which is why I chose to transfer there. And it took 2 years while I was a transfer student there to shift the campus climate by, first of all, empowering our core students, Jews and non-Jews who are our allies, to give them the tools on how to debate, how to do public speaking, how to understand all the counter narratives that exist against the Jewish people from the far right to the far left, and in every side of the spectrum to be able to respond, how to be able to create coalitions, how to end coalitions, also how to narrate our story. You don't want to hear about Black rights from KKK members. You don't want to hear about women rights from misogynists. So are the only people talking about the story of Israel those that are against Israel and against the Jewish people? And the last thing is to protect. The same way there's freedom of speech in a society, there's freedom of reaction to speech that people should have that will get the society to respond to bad ideas and make sure that individuals that may have bad ideas would think twice before saying so. And so in order to get there and to shift the political climate, it's going to take years, but it starts now if they want to get there.
Well, it sounds like you've been doing the work. Let's just hope it doesn't get unraveled with a few days of protest. Rudy, appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.